All right, guys, this is Mike. This is Veterans Life, and today I have Michael Carmichael with me. He's the organizer of Chekovet, which is a nonprofit organization focused on preventing veteran suicide by raising public awareness and encouraging meaningful, routine engagement between veterans and the general public. Founded by Michael Carmichael, a retired Special Forces Chief Warrant Officer, the organization aims to address the stressors and risk factors that lead veterans to contemplate suicide, rather than just treating suicide as a problem itself. How you doing today, Mike?
Hey, Mike, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me on and giving me the opportunity to share the Chekovet mission.
Oh yeah, thanks for joining me. So, first thing I want to ask you about is what's the number on the truck behind you?
That's a huge piece of tragedy right there. According to the VA, that's how many veterans have ended their life by suicide since 9/11. Can you believe that?
No, it's hard. That's a hard reality to take in.
So I always like to do this because we're in a Google age. Hey, Google the number. And what you'll find is 30,177. That's what Google's going to tell you the number. To put all these numbers into perspective and give it a little context, since 9/11, the U.S. has lost just over 7,000 service members, active duty and National Guard members, and contractors during combat. So 7,000 lost in combat. So that number right there is 2 years old. So it's well over 20 times the loss that we've suffered in wartime casualties. What makes that even worse is, Mike, that's the VA's number. It's not accurate. According to Operation Deep Dive, which was done by American Warrior Partnership, and they collaborated with a couple of colleges and universities, little ones, Duke and the University of Alabama, some mediocre educational facilities. I'm just kidding. The work that they did was, they found that number to be underreported by a factor of 2.4. And it's like, how did they do this? What it was. And I want to share this with you because I get goosebumps just sharing this. So they looked at 5 states, went back 7 years, and they looked in small communities, rural counties, towns, cities, and then did the math for the whole state. And what they discovered was the VA has underreported their findings by about 2.4. Montana had been the worst state in the nation, the worst state in the nation for veteran suicide up until about 3 years ago, when they became second. Wyoming became the worst state. So, man, if this doesn't hit home, especially when you consider so much of my effort is to embrace Montana, because Mike, that's where I was born and raised. I was born at St. Peter's in Helena, Montana, and I retired from Capital High School, or I graduated from Capital High School.
Graduated from Capital. Okay.
That's right. So if you're from Helena High, take it easy. I'm loving all of it. Yeah. But that's my hometown.
Now you're out in Kentucky now. If
I did. I retired at Burr, Kentucky on the lake.
Yeah.
If you're in Montana, you'll understand I probably couldn't afford a place on the lake or the taxes, right?
Don't even get me started, man.
Yeah. Hey, I spent 20 years at Fort Campbell with 5th Special Forces Group. So people are like, why are you there? Well, I'm there because that's where the Army left me. And that's where my kids are. So I don't want to venture too far out.
Yeah, I understand that. And my story is kind of almost the opposite. I graduated high school in Georgia, southeast side of Georgia, in a little town called Swainsboro. And I joined, did basic at Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, did my first AIT at Fort Huachuca, Arizona, my second over at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. I got orders for Baumhalter in Germany. But the day prior to me leaving to go to Germany, I got new orders for Fort Benning, 3.5 hours away from where I grew up. Talk about being mad.
Yeah, most guys don't like being stationed next to home. They're missing out on that worldly experience. And I spent 5 years in Germany. I can tell you, you missed out. Baumholder was amazing.
And that's where I was supposed to go. I was very upset that I didn't get to go to the Rock, but I had fun over at Third ID. I mean, I can't complain. I had fun.
I was
But
there in 1991. I did what we used to call PLDC. Whatever they call it now, the school to become a young buck sergeant. That's what
no, okay.
that's what happened. My chair's old. Sorry. So,
All right. But yeah, and then once I got out, man, I was like, you know what? The only thing I really got to see was Iraq, California, desert training in California. And that's about it. I'm gonna go travel. And then ended up moving out here to Montana, and I love it. I mean, what's not better than what's behind me, other than maybe some water?
that's beautiful. And you told me you're up by Havre.
Yeah, right now.
My family, it's my stepmother's family, has a big farm out near Harlem. So I know exactly where you're at pretty intimately.
Yeah, yeah. I'm about 2 miles south of the Canadian border right now.
Beautiful.
Yep. So let's kind of get on your background a little bit and get into why you started the organization, and then what there were any events that really kind of geared you towards this path.
That's a great question. I'll try to be as brief as possible, but there is a background story, like most things. So, a friend of mine is an entertainer, and we were at one of his concerts, and that night, a young Marine brought in a flag that he wanted to give to one of the guys for being there for him. You know, the way this guy was there for him all the way. That really is the Chekovet model, you know, reaching out, being a meaningful part of his life. So that night, tragically, as it turned out, the Marine's battle buddy, the guy that literally raised that flag that he had just given in Marja, Afghanistan, he ended his life by suicide. So in the wake of that, everybody, you know, was up in arms, like, we're going to do something. And it kind of went around the horn. You know, we'll let people come to the concert. Another guys, I can take people hunting and fishing, or I can take people to sporting events and this and that. But their objective was to prevent veteran suicide, to really put a dent in the number 22. So as I retired, I was actually the strategic plans officer for 5th Special Forces Group. It's not a shop. It's a guy that the battalion or the group commander trusts to kind of lay the breadcrumbs for the organization going forward. So I let him go around with all of these ideas. And then at the end, I was like, guys, I think you could do that for 100 years and you wouldn't have a palpable impact on veteran suicide. And it's because of the numbers. This was 2016. Back then there was about 22 million veterans. So then I was like, how many people can you let come to your concert? You know, how many people can you take fishing, you know, around the horn? And the answer, you know, it's obvious that in order to really make a dent in veteran suicide, you have to be doing something that changes the paradigm. So I was a co-founder and was the national secretary of that organization. But then down the road, we were at a NASCAR race, as it turned out. A lot different from what Chekovet is doing at these races now. It was just kind of go to the race and bring some people. And an entertainer friend of mine, he's in the entertainment industry, one of the big guys behind camera in his case. He was hanging out with us and not very familiar at all with military or you know, a soldier's life. So we were there, and a Gold Star mom came up and started talking to us. And for your viewers, a Gold Star mom is a mother who lost her son or daughter in combat. So the mood of the group changed to accommodate her and to give her the respect that she deserves. My buddy had no idea. He didn't know. It was about 5 minutes into the conversation that he realized, you know, that lady standing right there lost her son in combat. And he left. He just turned around and walked off. And I had no idea. I'm like, that's pretty out of character. But he came back later, nearly a couple hours later. And I could see that he was upset, that he had spent some time with himself. And he's like, man, I had no idea. I feel dumb. I should know what that means, but wow. So he was there to help us prevent veteran suicide with that type of model. And he asked me, as a trusted agent and a friend of his, he said, Michael, is this the model to really get after veteran suicide, to really put a dent in the number 22? It's not 22. It's actually 44. You do the math.
I was actually going to ask you about that.
44. VA says it's 17.3 or something. Anyways, he says, is this how we get after that? And I was like, no, man, this is not how we do that. This model doesn't have the capacity to do that. And he's like, well, all right, what would you do? So we have to build a base of support around our veterans. The VA can't do that. Singularly, a spouse, a family, or friends, coworkers. Nobody has the capacity to do that completely by themselves. So we need to get Americans involved and work together and build a base of support around every veteran in America. And to do that, you got to do a few things. One, nationally, we have to raise awareness of the problem. That's the VA's version of the problem. We've already talked about the other stuff, but also it's other things like what's the demographic of veterans who are ending their life by suicide? The age, veterans 34 and over, white males in rural areas. Am I talking to the veterans in Montana right now? Yeah.
Montana, Wyoming, Idaho.
They make up more than 85% veteran suicide. 85%. So we need to raise awareness to the problem. We need to let people know what group of veterans is doing this the worst. And then we need to get after them. And then the last thing, and to me, it was really most important to get this out because people don't know basic signs and symptoms of somebody who's in crisis and might hurt themselves. We have to provide education. We have to give the resources so that any person that sees Chekovet and the booth and they're interested in what we're doing, you can download our free tool. You can go to our website. Guess what, Mike? You are going to have the tools to prevent a suicide. Not just a veteran suicide. Our model is unique to that because we consider things like PTSD, TBI, and even sexual trauma in the military. This is really about preventing suicide. So raise awareness, call to action, and then resources. So with that, he literally put his hands on me. This big guy looks like he just skated off the Predators hockey rink in Nashville. He's like, hey, you have to do that because that'll work. So I went, a few years without doing that because in the wake of the first nonprofit, Mike, I was really disgruntled with a nonprofit veteran suicide model. And even though I think personally that was missing the mark on a mass scale preventing suicide, I didn't want anything to do with it. And then I kind of passively wanted to start up Chekovet with me really, really far in the weeds in the background because I didn't want it to be about me. Right. But it took me a couple of years to figure out that we needed somebody with about that much credibility. And that's probably all I got left after 26 years in the Army. But you need somebody with credibility and the ability to draw people together. So that's how I got involved. And years later, it was 2021. I was dating an actress and filmmaker, and she was telling me about all the amazing things that she had done with her philanthropies. And not to be outdone, I was like, hey, one time I had an idea and I told her, and she said, you have to do that because that'll work. So that second time, it really felt like God's calling for me. This is what he wanted me to do. And surprisingly, the very first person I reached out to help us out was the Secretary of Defense, President Trump's last acting Secretary of Defense, Chris Miller. Like, what? You're just going to pitch a guy like that? Well,
That's kind of what I'm thinking.
20 years ago, he had been my battalion commander, and I already had his cell phone number. And so we had a great relationship back in 2005. And then later I was pulled out of the Army, and I did about 3 years with the agency, the CIA. And we worked together a little bit there too. So he knew me then and he knew me now. And he literally said, Michael, if you're going to lead that, and that's the model you're going to do, I'm standing by for you to tell me what to do. I mean, I still get emotional and chill bumps because that kind of mission validation is so powerful and so amazing to have somebody like that believe in me and an idea. So that's how we got here.
Yeah, well, I'm very thankful that you started this up, and I personally I wish I would have known about you and the organization about 2.5, 3 years ago. It probably would have helped me out a lot before hitting rock bottom. But I know I found you now, and I'm going to help spread the word, and I just love what you're doing. So one of your key messages is about involving civilians in suicide prevention. How can ordinary Americans effectively engage with veterans in their lives? What are some things they can do to kind of, in my experience with me, we're all kind of standoffish, right? A lot of us with PTSD and depression, anxiety, we don't want to be around groups. So what are ways we can combat that to kind of help our guys out?
So first and foremost, we need to get the people who are in a veteran's life more involved and more supportive in that life. Family, friends, coworkers, neighbors, the likes of that. So how do you go from this awkward, I know he was in the military, but I've never talked to him. We've been neighbors, what have you. It's called an engagement strategy. Okay. These are some ideas to break the ice in a way that won't put that veteran off or make that veteran feel suspicious of your interest in them. And just in a normal setting, say you're at Walmart or somewhere like that, and you see a veteran, I've heard from a lot of veterans, they don't like it when somebody says, thanks for your service, and then take off. Yep. And I get it. But normally what I tell those veterans is, if you don't like that, then stop wearing your hat. Right. But the other side of it is to provide a little education for civilians in the, I'm so thankful when somebody does that to me. I understand their intent, and that's nothing but good. But one thing we can all do to make that veteran feel better about the interaction is be interested in their service. Okay. It's not just thanks for your service. What branch of service were you in? Where did you go? What was your job? What did you like? What did you not like? This series of open-ended questions, you can almost watch their face. Like all of the walls they've got up, come down and come down. And they're like, hey, I've never talked to this guy. He's in my life, but he's not a bad guy. He's interested in what I've done. So that's a great way to just a rudimentary engagement strategies. And we have more on our website at chekovet.org. And I'm also very proud to say that we're collaborating with the graduate program of the Imperial College of London. That's not London, America. That's London, England. They got some veterans over there too. But they were so excited about this idea of creating better engagement strategies, especially for veterans who are difficult to get through to. They jumped in. They're on board. They're on the Chekovet team, helping us and help you to get better ways.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So not only do we have families in combat, but we have them in recovery as well.
Say that one more time.
I said, so not only do we have families in combat, but in recovery as well. That's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's
That's
awesome.
right.
Yeah. Okay. So, Chekovet frames suicide as a symptom of underlying stressors. Can you elaborate on how this perspective shifts their approach to prevention?
Mike, have you ever heard anybody else say that? Suicide is a symptom. It's not the problem. Ever
Honestly,
even
no,
heard that?
no.
Yeah. Neither have a lot of very old, firmly ingrained psychologists, as I've come to find out. Like, oh, that's the problem. And I'm like, follow me here. Okay. The problem is whatever's stressing that person out so bad that they're willing to end their own life to make that stress or that pain stop. Okay. That's the problem. If you can figure out what that problem is by being involved in your veteran's life, I say by having a front row seat to that veteran, then we can help him with his struggles or her struggles with that problem. And then it's not a reach to realize that the suicide.
Right. It's kind of, in a way, it's kind of like approaching it in like a holistic model, like a whole health model. You're not just approaching just the one thing.
Right. The best feedback I think we've got on that model is, holy cow, you're actually preventing a problem solution model to identifying what's stressing the veteran out and treating that problem, the suicide. So
It's good. Yeah. When I read that and I was checking out your website, I'm like, it kind of turned on a light bulb in my head because I never thought about it that way. I was like, wow, that's a great way to put it. And that's a great way to approach it. Um, so that's awesome. Uh, can you share a story where a Chekovet's approach has made a tangible difference in a veteran's life?
oh my God, there's so many. I'll share with you our most recent success. And within the last couple of months, this veteran has become a very dear friend of mine. I don't really have the capacity to adopt 16 million veterans. That's how many we got left. So I always try to have resources available at the locations that we go to. Like we're here in Atlanta. We've already done our pre-coordination with places. So that as we find veterans in distress, one, we handle it exactly the same way that an emergency room 911 operator or mental health professional does. And that's by the use of the Columbia 9 tool of suicidality. So we use that the same way. And I knew my new friend had a lot of stresses, but he wasn't to the level of it's stop. We're going to call 911 and get you to the hospital. It wasn't that bad yet. So, but just at that race, this guy hated crowds. And you're literally in a stadium that'll hold 150,000 people. He hated crowds. He hated loud noises. He hated when somebody was behind him. And after that first interaction, and it literally was at the very end of the day, which often happens. I asked him a few questions and I was like, I see his struggles. I have a basic understanding of what he needs, but I don't have a resource here that was at NASCAR race in Nashville. I don't have a good resource here to give to him. So I'm going to do it. And me and my friends circled him up and we brought him back on a team. Okay. Talk about a base of support. We could talk later about team room, but building this base of support for my new friend instantaneous. Okay. It's like, hey, we're going to go into the track. The track at NASCAR, they have these amazing headphones where you can also listen to your drivers and stuff. So we mitigated his dislike of loud noises. And he was literally surrounded by 5 veterans. And as we finally got him up into the stands, he was saying he was kind of getting lost. I think he was dragging his heels. Either way, as we finally got up to the stands, he's in like the worst environment that he could be in as far as his comfort zone, the noise and the crowd. But he like took a deep breath and he looked around and he said, I can't believe I'm doing this. This, you know, if you ask my fiance, she would not believe that I'm doing this either. And he says, it's because you guys got my 6. You know what I mean? You have my 6. And I said, no, we've got your 6, your 12, your 3, and you're surrounded. This is the base of support. So through that, you know, took a guy with a lot of struggles, to use his words, he had been in a nut hut several times for suicide ideology and risk. So since then, bringing him into the Chekovet family, he's literally out here with us now. We've enlisted his help. We've given him, you know, a mission, a task and purpose. He loves it. He's a different person than that guy that I met in Nashville. So that's a good example of, you know, our most recent save, if you will. I don't like to say save. We treated the problem and we're on a great glide path now. So
That's awesome. And, you know, it's kind of, it kind of goes hand in hand with my story in a way on a much bigger scale. You know, you're doing it on a way bigger scale than I am. But, this started out, my podcast started out as a dare. I was talking to some friends of mine. Like, yeah, I've had an idea for a podcast, whatever. And it originally was going to be like a radio show, like music and stuff like that, you know, just DJing, but on a podcast. And, they dared me to do it. So I did it. I turned the mic on, and instead of doing that, I started talking about my story. Just come out of nowhere. And, I broke down on audio, talking about what happened with my wife and how I went to the VA and all that stuff. And I put it out there and I said, you know, I don't know if I'm going to do this again. I don't like the way it made me feel. I just don't, I don't like being that emotional publicly. Then I got an email and, I got an email that said, I appreciate you putting your story out there, and it's inspired me to go to the VA and seek help for my issues. And that one email put such a fire under me and a purpose back into me. And this is all I talk about. My wife's probably tired of hearing about it. So
you'll have then.
yeah. Yeah.
Mike, are you a spiritual person or not so much or what?
Not so much. I'm not. Yeah. The easiest thing to say is not so much.
That's cool. I felt the same way that you did. I consider myself to be a spiritual person. And that's why I felt like it was a real calling. And often I feel like, you know, I didn't mean to say this, but I said it. Is there a higher reason why I said it? I think maybe, and maybe that's what happened with you too. But I don't know. I can't tell you.
I won't say it. I'm not going to say it's not, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did that. And then now it's evolved from me just being by myself to, me talking with other vets not only helps me, but helps them. And one of my big things is how many veterans do we know that their families want to know what's going on and wants to know how to help them, but the service member won't speak to their family about it because they don't want to bring that trauma onto their family, but they will speak to me or you. So
I think a lot of times it's not the sharing of trauma. I think that it's just issues that we have. No one's closer to us than our family. So as we have issues or we project our issues onto others or others have issues, it's really one of the hardest relationships to mend or to keep healthy, where like now me and you are friends, all of our conversation points, are just kind of a point, and there's no real history or beef or whatever. So yeah, I get it, but also, this better than me. Nobody has more credibility with a veteran than another veteran. Okay.
Yeah.
So we know each other, and, just from walking a mile in each other's boots, and we understand.
Yep. And exactly right. And part of my goal with this is to get those stories that the family members want to hear, but they're not being privy to. I'm hoping that in some way, vets coming on here, telling their stories and sharing their experiences with me, not only gets it to the general public, but also their family members. So their family members have more insight into how their veteran feels and what they're going through. Now, I'm really hoping I
Absolutely.
have that's kind of something that happens to this.
And hey, share Chekovet with that,
Oh,
because that's
absolutely.
what we do. We make that easier on them, and then we arm them. We give them the tools that they need to really make a difference and save lives.
Absolutely. And, I mean, you got amazing resources on your website. I'll be sharing your website information, and your socials, on the video once I post it. That way people, what challenges has Chekovet faced in spreading its message? And, what are your future goals for expanding the organization's impact?
Honestly, our biggest challenge is resources. Man, people see a nonprofit, a veteran nonprofit, and they stereotype, one of two ways. They're either crooks, or they've got so much money that they don't know what to do with it. And that's just simply not the case. To date, 3.5 years, I haven't paid myself a penny. The only person in the organization right now who gets a subcontractor 1099 is our bookkeeper. But I mean, that said, you can't pull into a gas station and say, "Hey, I'm a veteran nonprofit, fill it up." You know what I mean? I got to, all of our equipment, some of it's finance or whatever. So as a SF guy, Mike, I'm terrible at asking for things. I spent so much of my career, go do this. You got what you got. Come back when you're done. So, to me, our biggest challenge is financial resources. And I like to try to put that into perspective. Like, those resources are like the volume knob on your radio. And I need your guys' help so that we can turn this volume knob up, so that people just like you who need to hear this message can. And we just can't get there without the financial resources.
Yep. I know you have a link on your on your website there where people can donate or buy gear if they're interested.
Yeah, look, you can use PayPal, you can use Square, all of your information saved. I don't get anybody's credit card. But please, see what we're doing. I'm honored to be on a show based right there in Helena. I'm really happy to be, talking to some of the people who are tragically in the second worst state in the nation for veteran suicide. But yeah, help us. And thank you for, giving us this opportunity to share. So
Absolutely. Thanks for coming on and letting me talk with you. It's been great. I really wanted to share your story, so I'm glad.
Helena.
Yeah. Speaking of Helena, you want to kind of let everybody know what you got going on there and in other places around the country, to kind of to help your vision.
Yeah, thanks. That's a great opportunity to share. We are starting to stand up team rooms, which is a program that we have where we're trying to bring veterans back together and put them on a team and do veteran type stuff, do military type stuff. So, I hope to enlist your help and, some of my old high school friends and family members in the Helena Valley and surrounding areas to put together like a breakfast social, a dinner social, coffee social, a couple of times a month, increase the frequency. Hopefully we get to about one a week. And that's just providing a space where we can all come back together, where we have other people watching out for us, maybe, hopefully noticing when we're having a bad day and then trying to figure out what the problem is that we're having and sort it out like that. But also the camaraderie stuff, just being in the service, try to do some PT together, try to play cards, try to engage the community in a meaningful way, things like that.
Getting back to the definition of a battle buddy.
Oh my God, that's right. We all need battle buddies, and I always ask veterans that come into our booth and we engage and we share stories with, in parting, I say, I need you to do something for me. Every week, I want you to scroll through your cell phone, and I need you to find that buddy that you haven't talked to in a long time, and reach out, do a buddy check. You never know what's going to be on the other end of that phone. It's 1 in 22.
Yep. So I'm going to sit here with Mike, and we're going to check out one of his videos on YouTube called 1 in 22. Kind of nervous because it sounds like it might be pretty touching. But
very much so.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Can I have a minute of your time?
Absolutely.
My name is Michael Carmichael. I'm the president of Chekovet. Do you happen to have a veteran in your life?
Proud to say I do. My son, Paul. Or his buddies like to call him Carter. Yeah.
His name's Bob Goodall, and we met him at church.
We do.
Yeah, we do.
Our neighbor, Chris.
Well, they call him Tanner, but yeah.
Could you tell me a little bit about Carter's service?
Happy to. Well, he enlisted in the Army, and he made it all the way to sergeant, and proud to say he was also a Green Beret.
Yes, he was a Master Chief, and he retired after 30 years of service in the Navy.
He was a Marine. Well, he is a Marine. They say once a Marine, always a Marine. And yeah, I know he was in the service for quite a while.
Can you guys tell me anything about how his transition out of the Marine Corps went?
He's had a hard time finding employment. It's been a little rough for him. His wife recently left with the children and went to go live with her mom. So he's not been doing well with that, actually. So
I believe it went really well. He got lucky, and right when he got out, he got a job with local weather station.
Taking life with the same fire he had in the military. He's getting a master's in civil engineering. Rather, he majored in business so he can come work with me, but you know how that goes. He's got an amazing wife, gave me 2 amazing grandkids, and he's just doing amazing. It's great.
Would it be okay if I asked you guys a difficult question about Bob?
Yeah?
Do you think Bob would ever hurt himself?
No.
I don't believe so. No.
Yeah, it's not Bob.
Do you think Tanner would ever hurt himself?
Yeah, he's been having a very hard time, extremely stressed out, it hasn't been easy.
I would really hate to think about something like that, but it's a very tough question.
Yeah. Tanner's been having a very hard time, but I know him, and I know he's very resilient, so I think it's going to be okay.
Would it be okay if I asked you a difficult question?
Shoot.
Do you think Carter would ever hurt himself?
Absolutely not. He's just not wired that way. He's not that kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that lifts other people up. He's definitely not the kind of guy that would do something like that.
Oh man, you had to do this to me, didn't you?
You're welcome.
Oh man, yes.
You want to have a powerful program. It's
That's
hubs and tears, Mike.
yeah, that's I oh man, so many. I don't even know how to describe it. It's I thought it was going to be something like that, but I didn't expect the visual and audio to be that. That's right.
Right. So why did we do that? Why did I feel obligated? Go back to that first conversation that I had at the race with my friend who's asking me, how do we do this? Literally, the treatment for that video came out of a conversation. And it nearly, through the production process. And I wrote it, I directed it, and unfortunately I had to be in it. Sorry about that. But we have to show Americans that this can happen to any veteran. And in the story, I think the way I wrote it, I wanted the most likely veteran to be Cannon, and he was stressed out and all of that. But that's not how it works all the time. So much of the time it's the veteran that would be the last to do that. But you don't know unless you have a front row seat to that. And if you'll notice in the video, and it was even in the initial conversation, before I had much of an education at all about suicide prevention or, beyond that, the nuance of veteran suicide prevention. Those are pictures of my kids. That's my photo album from the invasion of Iraq. And the realism that I put into that's a stress called survivor's remorse or survivor's guilt. And the guy that he's pointing at in that picture at the end, he ended his life by suicide years later. And man, from working with us during that trip, he became the combat controller of the Air Force. So how do you go from that to nothing? It's that base of support, Mike. We got to get people to have a front row seat. So I know it's emotional. I still cry.
Yeah.
Every time I watch it, like I share, a lot of combat veterans can't get through that. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry I put you on the spot to watch that.
Yeah, it's fine. I think it hits exactly what you want it to. And I hope that the people that watch it don't see it as a, well, it's not going to come across as like another movie clip because it's just it's deeper than that. Just from the very beginning, it's deeper than that. It's going to be hard for a lot of people to watch, and especially veterans, but civilians as well, because they're so neutered to this kind of stuff. The media doesn't really portray the true reality of life in general, much less something as deep as suicide. So it's going to touch a lot of people, and it's definitely going to hit a lot of emotions for a lot of people. They're not ready for it, but they need to see it.
So I would like to give a shout out to Tackle Box Films. They're the guys that do Brantley Gilbert and Chet. All of these big country artists. They do all of their content, their video and picture content. They actually, that's estimated to be about a $75,000 production. We had a whole crew, multiple scenes, multiple venues. And, they did that for us for $8,500.
Oh, wow.
For everything.
Wow.
For everything. So thank you. And,
yes. I'm definitely going to be, I'm going to figure out a way that I can share that on my site and on my YouTube with giving it but making sure that you got on the end of it, you got the Chekovet link. It's trying to do it to where it's not me taking it, but it's me sharing it and still getting people to you. I got to figure out how to do that without quote unquote ripping you off.
You're not ripping me off. I tell everybody, I was invited to the Kentucky State Legislature, one of 3 nonprofits statewide. And I was there to ask for resources for $400,000, which isn't a lot in the grand scheme of things. We can take team room and do a proof of concept. We've got 6 different PhDs that have actually flocked to our mission. They want to do the data collection and the analysis on it so we can build this program. But as far as you saying you don't want to rip me off, what I told the Kentucky State Legislature, give me the money and I'll prove to you the team room will work. Bringing veterans together, letting them lean on each other. And then after you've invested that small piece of money, you can have it. The state of Kentucky can have team room. And frankly, nobody thinks I'm smart for saying this, but frankly, I don't care if you take Chekovet's name off. I just want to say veterans, right? And let Kentucky lead the way for America. And then everybody has it. And it's not a stretch when you consider a strategic partnership with the American Legion and the VFW. Okay. We build this team room. You get people like you starting to do these coffee socials. We build the program. We build what the meetings look like, the outline of a meeting. And we give it to those 2 organizations. With their buy-in and effort, we have an army that transcends to every community. This could be a reality in a year or less. We just need to prove that it'll work. And I don't want to be the guy that sits, with my thumb up my tail, or I can't do nothing because we don't have money. No, you can make a difference. People just like you, if they're going to be watching this, can make a difference. We extend our 501c3 status to organizations or individuals like you, so that you can market your meetings for free with your local media, so that you have a recognizable brand in Chekovet. Because people don't know, like, is this just another shyster, or is this an organization that's grounded in something? You're not ripping me off. Rip me off.
Nah, I just wanted to make sure you get credit for it, But I understand where you're coming from, because, I'm going through the VA right now, trying to go and get a degree in media communications. And they were talking to me about it, like, well, what's the work like and all that stuff. I'm like, I don't care. I don't care if I get a career in this. This is for me to make my passion project better. That's all it's for. I don't care about the money, But that's another story. We'll see how that goes. Hopefully I can convince them to do that. But anyways, enough of that. I'm really glad I got to speak
I've got
with you
some
today.
connections that would probably help with that.
Oh, I'm sure.
About that. I know a guy.
As a CW5, I'm sure you know a lot of guys. Oh, which brings me, you being a CW5 and starting this is different than an officer starting. Different. Oh, CW4, excuse me.
That's as far as my hypocrisy would take me.
Oh, so
I only met a couple CW5s in 26 years that I actually liked. So,
well, you guys are unicorns to begin with.
Don't worry about it. We're behind the scenes making it happen. You just don't know that.
That's right. But there's how can I put this? So in my mind, you as a CW4 coming together and starting this organization is different than a colonel, lieutenant colonel, major, or a staff sergeant first class doing this, because you kind of know yes, you're an officer, but you got all the enlisted stuff too. At least from my understanding, when I was looking at becoming a pilot, I never got through with it. I looked at it, and you got to do all the basic stuff. Got to be enlisted for a while before you can make that step, put in your packet so you can go do warrant stuff. So you got a background of being on the front lines. Well, with SF, you already got that no matter what. But,
behind the front lines.
I just think being a warrant officer kind of brings a different perspective to it than what your typical officer would.
Well, thank you so much for that. And then I do think warrant officers are bring a whole different kind of value to a team. And to talk about my enlisted experience, I turned down promotion to E8 to become a warrant officer. And, that goes against a lot of conventional wisdom, but Mike, all I wanted to do was stay on a special forces 18. And if I'd been promoted to E8, I could have gotten 2 more years. But by becoming a warrant, I really restarted my clock and I got 6 more years on the team. So I ended up doing 12 years on the detachment. But, no, I appreciate that insight. You're actually the first person to educate me on that.
That's how I feel about it, because my warrant officer when I was in, he was the chief of our motor pool, coolest dude I ever met. Coolest dude. He was a unicorn. Never saw his ass, but when you did see him, coolest guy you ever met. You needed something and you saw him, he'd get it for you. 100%.
That was my first warrant officer I met too. The BMO. Who is this guy?
Yep.
I got shit done, but man, he was mean. Like you didn't want to. So yeah, no, I love
tell you
it.
what, man,
Thank you for that.
Chief warrant officer, Blevins. I'm pretty sure it was Blevins. Yeah, good dude, man. If you needed something and he knew about us, it was on. You got it. It was great.
Very good.
But yeah, so that's pretty much. I don't know where else to go, bud. I'm kind of.
No. I appreciate you, Mike, and thanks for having me on. And if you want to do this more down the road, reach out. I've never turned down any interview. I think Memorial Day, I was literally on Fox News one day for a full interview. And then the next day, I think it did like the Lake Erie Gazette. They were interviewing me to put it in, right? I said, hey, I don't care, man. Maybe one person that Lake Erie Gazette piece goes out to. Be someone. So you let me know. I'll do this again.
Well, I'm sure I'll reach out again because I enjoy talking to you. This is something that I'm pretty passionate about, and I'm glad to kind of sort of in a way partner with somebody else that's got a reach that I don't have, and that I can learn from. Kind of like a mentor.
If I could provide you one sliver of mentorship in this line of work, it's this, and I tell people that are drawn to the mission. I mean, I'm now to the point where I've got people retiring from their jobs and dedicating their lives to Chekovet. And what I tell them is this, I should say, man, if you don't think you can get punched in the face and every door that should be open slammed closed, cry yourself to sleep and wake up the next day with the smile on your face, because that's another opportunity to make a difference, save some lives. If you can't do that, get out. It'll eat you up. That's what you have to do though. And I look at it like, in the Bible, the story of Noah, we're trying to build an ark, and it doesn't have to be one guy. Let's all build the ark, this base of support for our veterans together. So, yeah.
I had my first real experience with that last night. I thought I was ready, but when he messaged me last night and was talking to me and telling me that his wife left, his service dog died, and now he's in Texas in the VA, an award. I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. I mean, I talked to him and I said everything that I knew to say, but that was not something that I was really ready to handle on a level that I thought that I could when you're actually going through it with somebody. It's you think you can talk to somebody. Yeah, it is, because you're
a lot of responsibility.
Yeah.
But your passion, I see your passion will drive your self-education.
Absolutely.
And really that's what it takes. And, going into it, you don't know about things like compassion fatigue, and where like a psychologist or something, every person that they meet with, they're literally cutting off a little piece of you, giving it away. So at the end of the day, when I say you cry yourself, it's because you don't have anything left to give. And with NASCAR as a model, I get a lot of people that you're just hanging out at the race, you're going, partying. And, NASCAR, Speedway Motorsports is so generous to donate, spaces. Like right here, we've got a 60 wide by 30 deep space at the Quaker State 400. I don't know, but I think it costs about $20 million. I mean, we're across from Kroger, Toyota Racing Development. The Corvettes are down there. But that passion breeding education but people are like, oh, you're just there to have fun. And I'm like, if you think this is fun, come on out. You can spend your day hugging and crying and listening to strangers. And I'll tell you what, just like me and the other volunteers at Chekovet, Mike, we can't wait for that race to start. No. So we can go back to the camper and cry ourselves to sleep. Seriously, it's tough stuff.
Well, I got my
just the
first
tragedy of the
night.
stories. Just the tragedy of the stories that you hear. When somebody's trusting you with that, you have to be stoic. They see me crying with them, but still it's like, yeah, man, we're going to fix this. Holy shit. It's tear your guts out.
And the way it happens isn't what you expect either, or at least it wasn't for my case. I didn't expect somebody to message me and just go straight into it. Like, 'cause there was no warning. There was no, I've never talked to this guy a day in my life. And he messaged me and just laid it on me. And I'm like, whoa, okay, let me take a breath and figure this out. 'Cause now I'm in the heat of it. I got to figure it out, and it's just,
there's a lot of free training that you can take. There's safe training. There's assist training. There's mental health first aiders. And those are free. Take those. Get an idea of the systematic approach. Go to Chekovet.org and download that free tool. That's a 6-page handout that could really serve as your guide. And the most important page on that is the last one. And that's where we use the Columbia 9 to assess where somebody is on the level of suicidality. Is this just somebody had the worst day ever and they're like, screw it, I'm going to do it? Or do they have an idea and a plan and then grab the things that they need for that plan together? And then the point where they're there with the idea, the plan, and the resources. So, for me, it's like you, I'm really self-educated in veteran suicide stuff with a passion. I've gone back to college, the other MSU, Murray State University. I was joking. But no, it's not to do the veteran suicide stuff. It's nonprofit leadership. This organization deserves as good a leader as I can give them. And I wish I had somebody better than me. And we could be doing something better. But I'm very humbled to host meetings very frequently. It's a room full of PhDs. And how they're really interested in ideas and strategies that I come up with. Because, hey, man, at the end of the day, my degree is in high school. And that degree is on my management. Yeah.
Well, and I think you're doing, and I think you and the organization are doing great things. I really do. And I really hope to see a lot more of it and a lot more growth. I think you're going to do more than some of these other veteran organizations do. The ones you see at Walmart, outside of Walmart, selling hats and stuff.
I've never done that. But there's nothing I wouldn't do to make a difference.
Yep.
So,
well, it's been great. And I do hope to speak to you again as we move through and both of us grow.
Yeah. So get your folks to contribute. And I hate saying this because I'm 52 years old. please like us, share us, and follow us on your social media. You never know what the ding dong's going to do.
That's right. That's right. And just so everybody knows, in the description section, I have links to all of his socials and to his website as well as mine. Please check us out. Share it with your friends and family. Mike's doing great things. Really help share the story and what he's doing.
Hey, thank you, Mike. And God bless to you and all your listeners. I appreciate you so much.
Thank you. And I hope you have a great day. And maybe you can enjoy the race a little bit instead of just having to take all the emotional pain.
Hey, I'll show you what we got over here. We do have something fun. I don't know if you're into rodeo, but my best friend is Cody Nance. It's one of the most prolific PBR cowboys bull riders ever. And
oh, wow.
It's not aired up, but that's literally Cody Nance's PBR bull that he rents out and makes a bunch of money. But he's letting us use that here. You need something that's going to bring people into the booth. So that'll do it. That'll do it.
Yeah, you got to find something to grab their attention. And that's the hard part.
That's right. Thank you again, Mike. I appreciate you.
Thank you. You have a good day, Mike.
In the silence of the night, memories come alive. Nightmares of the battles fought, where only shadows thrive. A soldier's heart is heavy, with scars that never fade. But the family stands beside, in the darkness, unafraid. We fight the unseen wars, in our minds and in our homes. Together we are stronger, even when we feel alone. We'll raise our voices high, for the ones who gave it all. In the name of love and honor, you went through hell and still stood tall. The children see the pain in their heroes' weary eyes. They learn to be brave in a world of silent cries. A spouse holds the pieces of a life torn apart, but a family's love is the glue that fixes every soldier's broken heart. We fight the unseen wars in our minds and in our homes. Together we are stronger, even when we feel alone. We'll raise our voices high, for the ones who gave it all. In the name of love and honor, we will stand tall. We'll advocate for healing, for the care they deserve. For the sacrifices made, we'll make sure they're heard. In the halls of power, we'll fight for their rights. For the families and the veterans, it's now our time to fight. We fight the unseen wars in our minds and in our homes. Together we are stronger, even when we feel alone. We'll raise our voices high, for the ones who gave it all. In the name of love and honor, we will stand tall. In the end we'll find our way. In the end we'll see the day when every story has been told, and every voice heard, young or old. For the veterans and the families, we'll spread the word, we'll stand and fight. They all deserve a better life than what they gave. When they chose to stand and fight for us, when they chose to save our life, they knew the dangers they would face, and still they stood tall and were brave. And now it's time we all repay them somehow. Show them that we care and appreciate how they fought for our freedom here and now. We fight so everyone can hear and help and love your veterans like they all did. For every other woman woman, man, and kid.